Again, Jason Leach, Jason Leach, Leach. There was a lot of activity since Friday, so we have a few things to go over today. I picked out some of the highlights for us to go over. So when we start looking at aggravated assaults, we're going to talk about the aggravated assault on June 11th at 10:22 p.m. in the area of West 35th Street and South Duluth Avenue first. In this call, our officer was out investigating a hit-and-run accident report. Somebody had called in and said their vehicle had just been hit. They heard it. The officer responded. The victim of the vehicle pointed the officer down the street and said there was a car down the street that he should check on. The officer went down the street, located that vehicle. I believe it was in the yard of another house. The officer contacted a person that was with the vehicle and started talking to them and conducting his investigation for the hit-and-run accident. This vehicle had fresh damage on it, consistent with the damage on the other vehicle. So he was investigating that hit-and-run accident. At the time of conducting that investigation, an uninvolved individual from a residence came outside and started yelling at our officer. He was yelling at the officer to leave his property, demanding that he leave his property. The officer and this other individual from the vehicle were standing on the public sidewalk at the time, conducting that investigation. As the officer gave that individual instructions just to go back in the house while he conducted his investigation, the suspect then made a threat that said, I'm going to make you leave my property. I went back in the house. Our officer continued to talk with the individual he was with. The suspect then came out of his house with a long gun. The officer wasn't sure if it was a shotgun or a rifle at that point, but identified it as a firearm. The suspect was holding it in his hands and demanded that the officer leave. Our officer, knowing that he now had contact with another citizen that he was conducting that investigation with, sought his safety and that citizen's safety, got them behind the patrol vehicle, called for extra assistance from our responding officers. As officers responded, the individual continued to yell at them. He could hear that he called out that their police radios were calling and talking, so he obviously could see from our officers that were in their police uniforms in marked patrol cars that they were police officers. He continued to point what the officers believed was a flashlight at them. And as they set up a perimeter, they gave commands to the suspect. They did see that the suspect had the long gun in his hand still. They gave commands for him to drop the gun. He had taken off running at one point to try and jump over a fence, but dropped the gun. Officers were able to get him to comply and take him into custody. We're happy that our officers are safe. We're happy that nobody in the public was injured in this. The flashlight they believed was shining at them was actually a weapon-mounted light that was on the end of that rifle. There was no flashlight located. There was no cell phone light or any other light source located on that suspect or in that backyard. So that individual had been pointing that rifle at our officers. So we're happy that no one was injured and our officers safely resolved that situation. That suspect was arrested for 3 counts of aggravated assault on law enforcement, 3 counts of attempt to commit a felony with a firearm, possession of a loaded firearm while intoxicated. The suspect's first name is Tristan, Tristan, middle of Allen, Allen, last of Deck, Deck. He's a 27-year-old male from Sioux Falls. Subsequent to that, the other individual that we had contacted for the hit and run was arrested for DUI and hit and run. So kudos to our officers for their quick reaction to keep themselves safe, keep the other citizen that was involved in that hit and run accident safe, and all the rest in the neighborhood safe. So